what to do in the meantime, and why it doesn't matter. The audiobook by Dr. Michael Richard Lucas. Narrated by me, Samantha. Arranged and produced by Michael Richard Lucas. Chapter 3. Irregardlessness, perchance. Everything designed around something, and other topic sentences. Tonight at 8, traveling through space is designed around the limitations of holding your breath. What other examples? Everything is designed around us not dying. That's not true. Our character thought, what else could we design around? Is necessity learned? Can it be unlearned? Our character was looking for another goal-oriented individual who enjoys accomplishing things. A little competitive spirit never hurts. It always did. And don't worry, I'm going to be a very important person very soon. Debt was supposed to pay off, for them to be able to pay it off, etc. Again, great for keeping things going. But where will it end? A strong emphasis on charity for everyday people. To give money to everyday people. The small print in bank transactions. Financial rewards for settling down. According to country song. Happiness right in front of you, etc. A strong emphasis on marriage. The individual in the family remains in their tax bracket. Predictability for the housing market. The chaotic nature of life makes it difficult to focus. Make mistake. Mad they made mistake. Mad they are mad they made mistake, etc. Limited technological advancements for the lower class, in ways that genuinely matter. In our character's space-time, you needed to spend money to make money, leading to debt, and now we've come full circle. Again, it keeps rolling down the hill, gathering steam and mass. The prosperity ascent narrative, a steaming pile of shit rolling down a mountain, followed closely by Reagan's trickle-down pissonomics. What you know is all you know. You can't know what you don't know, and you can only gain knowledge of what you don't know. You are what you don't know, but at least that's something. A collection of not knowing, a collection of moments, and known, of moments unkept. Within these biological forms, an interface-less interface, merely another level of abstraction for distraction. I'm not sure if it's even possible to manage this interface, let alone a completely new and even more pointless one, bound to necessarily and perpetually confuse cause and effect. Something our character will understand in the eventual, perchance, if they reach the mornus, irregardlessness. Our character wouldn't sleep that night. Orange Man's recession, going to be biggest and greatest recession ever. Just wait and see. Our character was applying for a job. Again, this happened often in this space-time, although we haven't been able to figure out why. Which culture wars are raging throughout the department? Follow up. Which side should I take? Could the principle of my actions be turned into a universal law? How does one manage not to know what everyone else knows? By denying their reader the obscurity necessary to recognize their relationship to logos, our character fails to take advantage of the therapeutic qualities of rhetoric narration, i.e., providing their listeners with the possibility of mornus, potential being. Our character must create new ways to perceive themselves in the world. We remain blind to this when we consider our narrative only heading in one direction. If you can't veer off course, if there is no course, dissoi, logoi, the trip, the festival, the event, etc. Can I get 3 letters of recommendation from junior faculty assessing your department's workplace environment? For the composition of a religion moral ethos, a moral home, another must be conquered. Our sky wizard is bigger than your sky wizard. Religion now football team. Another way to block us from our unheard self. It's been more than 5 minutes. You've been logged out. Your life is circular. You need to figure out how and why, etc. Or don't. Our character couldn't. Neither could we. If it cycles, you must break. There's a bicycle right here. How many times can we dissolve our world completely? A death in life, a narrowing of the space-time, the event, possibilities closed off forever. At least the unforeseeable might as well be the same. Start again, become a new person. How can our character provide a practical way for their reader? Remember, they were trying to write a book, to break free from the familiar, to find new ways to perceive themselves and their world. Should our character be a social chameleon, becoming the people around them? Homo rhetoricus par excellence, a harmonious understanding of a text, accepts the obscure, as always possible, a yet unheard language, the inaudible in what is said, the intent, the intentions, a language of intentions and motives. Hear the unheard, a rhetorics of listening. Our character started reading Bible. Ironically, have I not hit rock bottom yet? Asks our character. They hadn't. Perhaps our character couldn't comprehend the nuances of another person's personality. After a certain point, within a certain time frame, our character based many of their interactions with people on similar people they knew before. Expectations applied accordingly. The past will conform to the future. The mistaken logos that allows everything to keep moving forward. Our character's expectations will necessarily be shattered. That they will be shattered is given. Finding yourself where you are. Remembering that you are present and will be future. And so what? And so what? And so what? Etc. Needing proof and not needing proof. They find common ground. Neither are the bigger sense of being that could exist. Our character was reminded of the moreness, but it didn't last. To be the main character of our story, not to be too much of someone else's main story. Isn't it your fault for not bringing reading material to the barber shop? Reversing the problem. The pedagogy of disoilogoi. Reverse engineering. Simultaneous. Quantum ones and zeros. Zero sum. Some zeros. The further out I go, the more I can bring back. First they say, have you eaten all your mashed potatoes? Now they say, you have eaten too many mashed potatoes. Our character was fed up with mashed potatoes. War on Christmas, funded by terrorists. Prescriptions, greatly overestimating. Our characters need to operate heavy machinery. The main thing wrong with our character's generation, the previous generations. You know what's better than a viral video of a soldier surprising their family by coming home? No war. Full potential. Fully wasted. Americanized biopower. Now, at your local gas station. Narrative expectations. Compatible to the individual's best interests. In a system systematically preventing their best interests from being achieved. Stories about overcoming poverty. More common than people overcoming poverty. Freest nation's origin story. People during our characters' space-time hadn't turned it into a cliché yet. It wasn't for lack of trying. It appealed to a very primal need to survive, thrive, and that is the essence of biopower. A bill approved by Congress and the Senate, full of highly motivated secondary causes. The parasite, not at all related to the bill, the host, the narratives and the motivations, combined together, almost seamlessly. The individual cannot separate out what is good and what is bad. Radicalism becomes a currency. When everything becomes a currency, the prosperity narrative focused on progress, while it moved in the opposite direction. Is it a cliché yet? Possible epitaph for our character. Considering the odds against them, they did an okay job. It was fine. Only by accident do we impress the future. Go to conflict. It is easier to conquer a house divided. Trouble is never hard to find. And other pointless aphorisms. Allow yourself to profit off other people's trouble. This is merely the definition of profit. Profit from profit, for profits. So now you see, everyone is guilty, and we spend all our energy distancing ourselves from this guilt. We sacrifice the other on a daily basis. Limited mobility, and the constant threat of dissension, late payments, unplanned pregnancies, hospital bills, losing the undesirable job you already have, all possible through practices of over self-policing. The burden lies on the individual. The burden is the individual. They start to believe this narrative as well, to become masters of their own destinies. Temporarily embarrassed trillionaires. People voting against their best interests. Charging phone. Our character was feeling productive. If you're enjoying your day off, congrats. You're a socialist. Our character was looking forward to repopulating the planet. In all their communications, our character was trying to cryptically reassure their FBI agent they were too dangerous, important an asset to eliminate. Damn it, Johnson. They are more valuable to us alive than dead. When some unsuspecting muggers threaten our character's life in a back alley, FBI agents will take out the muggers. Smash cut. Next scene. Something bizarre is about to happen. Our character's FBI agents. No. Hold on a sec. Let's see where this goes. Would our character choose, without choosing, to find interesting questions? Or defend uninteresting conclusions? Ponder and pons. Falling in love makes a lot more sense if we think of it as accepting the particular kind of terrible a person is. How do you come to experience your primordial self? That ancient brain matter we can't access. Our character sleeps to join this pre-human self, a jobless self, a nationless self. For some reason it works. Will the primordial self be left behind when we are uploaded to computers? Is this good or bad? We don't know. What we don't know about ourselves. Work to allow your primordial self to be appreciative. Give it enough time to be. The primordial self will do whatever it can to make you stop. This is enough. You can go no further. Who's with me? I'm with me. If you can think of it, it can happen. Everyone says something, and other repetitive aphorisms. If this doesn't work, something else might. Keep moving forward. If this doesn't work, something else might. Keep moving forward. If this doesn't work, something else might. Keep moving forward. If this doesn't work, something else might. Keep moving forward. If this doesn't work, something else might. Keep moving forward. If this doesn't work, something else might. Keep moving forward. If you want to dazzle, you're going to have to put up with some razzle. Extremely normal older generation do not understand, and cannot participate in, the world they have created. They created a global economy, and chastise culture. The greatest generation cannot be great if they created the worst generation. Our character discovered a way to draw every chess game. They'd never lose, but they'd never win, but they'd never lose, etc. Radicalization must be channeled and practiced, and then sold for a profit. Narratives co-opted through the dichotomous structure of nations' morality. The emphasis placed within the narrow confines of sexual promiscuity or hair color. The baseline morality is set at a fixed position. To transgress it, not an accident or mistake, but the way people during our character's space-time regularly operated. Proof that the system was working. Who was it working for? Cars? People? People never knew. People were overdosing on drugs. It was working. People were being arrested. It was working. Suicide and genocide? Check. All working as planned. But nobody was planning it. Oh well. Film ratings. Life ratings. Differentiating how we act. Contrasted with revered ceremonies. At work. At play. The dichotomies that limit our response. Necessarily. Aristotle's wet dream. Movie will inoculate our character for the inevitabilities of life. Sci-fi helping normalize the future, allowing our character to comprehend it. Aliens, is that us right now, etc. Just don't tell the conspiracy theorists. Freest nation doesn't need conspiracy to disadvantage the disadvantaged. Sci-fi government fables. Our character loved it. All the combat training. When freest nation's population goes to war, they'll be ready. Not that. Deriving pleasure from anything is bad. Any pleasure you can get these days, go for it. Furthermore, it is highly questionable whether our character could make themselves aware of the power dynamics at work in everything they do, nor necessarily desirable. The power of illusion, the illusion of power, need not be demonized. The goal then becomes separating and dissolving the dichotomies, pursuing a project of regenerative enlightenment curiosity, finding joy in the journey and not the destination, and other cliches, making these empty cliches into something they are not. Eternal return of difference. Which acts would I repeat an infinite number of times? If people have told you you've gone insane, you haven't yet. It's when they stop telling you you're insane that you have to start worrying. That's good news for all of us. If you went insane, it implies that at one point you were sane. Who else would be better at pretending they are a sane person? An insane person. Ergo, my cargo. It's fine to be insane. If you pretend long enough, you'll forget you were pretending, as we all forget everything, most of the space-time, and then you will actually just become sane. Even your cells will have all been replaced by new cells. The ship of these see us. If you can decide to be insane, then you can decide to be sane. Just act like you acted when people liked you. At what point did they stop liking our character? Had they ever liked our character? Spiral. Not insane, but unsane. Are sane. Who's sane for ice cream? Who's sane for scream, etc. Pain and suffering. The baseline existence. The universal hint. We are not welcome. We are intruders. Within this context, freest nations. Institutions look impotent. Amateurs. They often unknowingly eradicate us. By accident. They are good at it, because they are bad at everything. But the universe wants to eradicate us, on purpose. Nations' institutions should take notes. Please, don't. Humans trying to survive, hanging on to whatever they can. Once this is your understanding, everything makes more sense, rather than less sense. It allows us to make sense of other things. Does it? If all has not been that which we are sometimes to command the friends of friends to react in such a manner. But it was not our character's fault. They put the liquor in the oven. Get traditional with your cooking. Go ahead. As I have never understood it to be anything other than the worst of the best favorite time in the summer when you can cruise with your friends and everyone is having as much soda products to keep you well and stimulated with the best vibrating chairs for sale and are half off until Labor Day and night and day and night and day and night time is the right time. If you feel this, then please let me know it's real. Darling, you are just too good to be true. Cannot take my eyes out without walking down the goddamn street and seeing these fucking hippies. Did you even read the bag of fresh potatoes you get at the store around the corner and turn around every now and then? I get a little bit lonely and I got to just break down and cry. Cry baby cry. Popster wins feminism. Military Appreciation Month. Month Appreciation Month. Civilian Appreciation Month. We're giving you guys a pizza party. Heaven is just a pizza party. Thanks, God boss. For whom does our character exist? Themselves? The reader? Our character could be explained by describing the objects around them. This has become even more difficult than figuring out when, where, how, and who this person was, is, could be. Did the objects have agency too? Can we avoid the fate we've chosen for them? After a while, everyone got fed up. with not knowing anything, exhausting and ultimately unsustainable. The author. Standardized testing. Let's get back to motives. Maybe our character had many similar motives to those around them, but they also had more particular ones. All of these things combined made our character a person we could think. Once this was established, it followed. This is this. This is that. This is not that. This is like that. This is this. This is that. This is not that. This is like that. This is this. At the end of the day, our character hardly knew who they were. Did we? Our character grows another layer of emotional skin. During our character's space-time, they'd be able to answer a lot of ethical questions if they could define consciousness. Stock market. Looking at ourselves in the mirror, but not well. Purposeful obfuscation. So there can be a market, an extra something, a not knowing. The not knowing that everything revolves around, that makes money doing nothing. The gig economy. Property value. The zero. The nothing. Everything revolves around the placeholder, the MacGuffin. But is it interesting, remarkable, or important? Breaking news. Character building experience #1 cause of death for poor people. Free t-shirt totally worth it. Our character, and I'm sure their friends and family, would like to skip to the point where they could reminisce about those good old days. Poverty days. Money buys happiness. Cover band socks. Local smart person organizes talking points before meeting with friends. Bartender not getting off anytime soon. Settle for less. It doesn't have to be as emotional, does it? At all space-times? Everyone has to find what works for them. And other obvious aphorisms. Buy local. Our character was practicing their plots long before they happened, except for the ones we haven't told them about. Repeating plots that already happened, practicing them differently. What's it all for? So much effort and focus. Mere distraction? Our economy of self? Our new attempt at immortality? Glassdoor's top 11 questions to ask your boss on the first day. This job sucks pretty bad, right? Answer honestly. Let me start awkwardly. In an unusual spot. Too late. What is our story now? Can we give up yet? We could. But our reader is reading about our character. Who were these people? Identify yourself. Could they be our character? Might get old, and they would know everything about their story if that was the case. Would they? Almost impossible for them to experience their life if they are reading it. Popster takes strong stance on violence. Against it. What everyone already knows. The dogmatic image of thought. Fosbury flop. Works every time. Our character's neighbor was at it again. I didn't come back from fighting in the Korean War for you to tell me I can't run over innocent civilians in my car. There's always money in the banana stand. There wasn't. Being able to do things skillfully. A decent way to pass the time. The pure meaninglessness of meaning. Philosophy was supposed to be performed and appreciated by an audience. The state of awe was the only purpose. There was no solution. Purposeful non-solutions. A solution undermines the practice. Appreciation requires forgetting as much as remembering. Instead we took the end result as the end result. But there was no there. People in movie trying to save the world. Our character was just trying to sleep. The smell means it's working. Don't rub it. Religion causes two-state problem with no solution. If our character could envision themselves standing still, they could move anywhere they wanted. So, as with everything, something led to something else, made possible by distinctions between things and other things. We could go on making these distinctions for an entire book. They did, as is common practice. One of the main difficulties facing our character, being able to tell the difference between merely adding one thing to another and building towards something else, not the thing it was originally. Often our character thought these things were big things that led to small things, or just as likely, small things that led to big things. but there were only a certain number of combinations we could include before this appeared repetitive, and led nowhere, and again our character turned into everyone, and no one, but our character, if they were real, wouldn't be able to think about any of the things in the way we are thinking about them now. Otherwise, they might lose interest in their own story. Who else would care if they didn't? If we didn't? Being surprised by the answer was the experience itself. In stand-up comedy and sit-down philosophy, answers of the unknown, of the previously forgotten, the buried punch line, the other foot, etc. Breaking news, big truck, also loud, and driving fast. During our characters' space-time, they simply weren't that kind of society. Antifa, done it. Our character was starting not to trust the process. New Year great. Marketing scheme. Extremely normal political party, the most obsessed with other people having sex. Unfortunately, they couldn't provide sufficient criticism of science's military-industrial complex and big pharma. Progressively regressive. New piece of shit computer thing. Supposed to make you more creative. Or something. Freest market approves opioid epidemic. Dow Jones wishes he had different name. Man being kept alive at most advanced hospital in nation. Believes in literal interpretation of Bible. Members of the extremely normal political party aboard Titanic aren't convinced it's sinking. Living best life no longer viable excuse. Our character started a pointless conversation with a pointless question. First day of preschool. Impetus for parent to practice caring about child cursing. Our character couldn't remember the last time someone told them they could be whatever they wanted to be when they grew up. Our character's life will be defined, in part, by overcoming roadblocks to creativity while simultaneously highlighting particular aspects of the creative process that will hopefully allow our reader to resist problematic rhetorical stances influenced by a highly competitive capitalistic society. In Inverness, unorganized crime, Baghdad, Slipper family, only reaching the masses, pays the bills. If you don't care about expertise, you don't care about expertise. Can't save the unsavable. The truth. That is true. In the simulation as well. A shared truth. A social contract. Agreeing to be agreeable. Agreeing to be apart. 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 The simulation. What could our character do in the simulation to make their life easier? What could we do? For our character? Could we do anything? Nation mourns as it kills heroes. Popstar and athlete give birth to new brand experience. See how far you can go in all pursuits. The drive to repeat what you did, and the inability to do so. We are the thing. Crashing through our plans. The audacity to think you know the future well enough to be disappointed by it. Everything was someone's grand idea. Every story is the same. How they are the same will tell you something about yourself. Our character's professor suddenly stopped talking in class. They sat in silence. Every day. The entire semester. Students adored this professor. They were soon fired. Remembering a future memory. Forgetting a present memory. That world outside your being in space-time. A you outside yourself. Iconoclast controversy says image is fine. Dalmatian spotted. Difficult to tell if professor has lost their mind, or merely misplaced it, again. Oh good. Another day. Again. Beating the cosmic odds. It's a fine line. Our character did not walk it well. Book too aware. For its own good. Book too aware. It's trying to be too aware. Hamming it up. Pig fat on your face. Everything our character had ever seen. They'd seen in a movie. Freest nation unsure if they can trust experts who work with precision in highly specialized peer-reviewed fields requiring decades of education and training. So they believe random internet opinion. U.S. News and World Report FedEx top questions for an academic job interview. Which co-workers have daddy issues? World no longer worth saving. Invest now. Futures past is today. Our characters surprise. They can still do something. The moreness? The joy of remembering. Space-time forgotten. Remembered. Revealed to our relief. Everything will be done for the first time. The realization. There is more space-time. A beautiful forgetting. A never-ending party. A perpetual remembering. Everything will be new. Everything can be appreciated. Full of wonder. In this remembrance of forgetting, we stop projecting ourselves onto the world, and the world onto ourselves. We are able to listen to the lack of everything around us. The great silence. The silence of infinite appreciation. Our character wasn't trying to think of clever things to say anymore. They just put random words next to each other. It worked. More than not. You're seeing those words next to each other. More than not. Confirming our shared reality. Everything is a reference to a movie we forget we've seen. Language. A lost reference. Simulacra. We forget what we are referencing. Lost fragments. All we ever do. Process references that have always been. The thing about this book is you're still reading it. Appreciate worth for its worthlessness. Understanding our nothingness. The state of appreciation. And appreciating the understanding of our nothingness. You can't plan on being within this space-time. Finding of a self. And hearing the nothingness of everything. Confront the idea you accomplish nothing. You are doing everything you have ever done. Appreciate your lack of consciousness. You are the subconscious to a greater consciousness. Our character was our subconscious. The subconsciousness under the illusion they are the conscious one. There is more consciousness to you than you can be aware of, perchance. But it is blocked by our sense of superiority. This prevents us from the other selves. Study finds people who hate others for their race are more likely to be racist. Extremely normal political party thinks slavery no reason for slaves to not have had decent, respectable jobs. Most of the time, people just say stuff. Encouraging and beautifully crafted message of hope does nothing to stop the inevitably horrific end of humanity. But it does sell cars. Winemaker returning whenevs. English department vows social justice. Still nothing conservative about conservatism. Nothing natural about nature. Nothing free about freest market, etc. The mantra. The centripetal force. Generational wealth competition. Generational wealth. Complex. I didn't have it easy. Neither should they. Neither should our character. Nation barely avoiding existential crisis. All teenagers go through it. Extremely normal political party. Held together by the belief. All who follow winemaker are in this together. They weren't. Statistics proving statistics wrong. Our character couldn't believe the news. Handle your business, or someone will handle it for you. Incorrectly. Style is accidental. English department devolves into super bitchy book club. Autocorrect takes hardline stance against cursing. For religious reasons. Have you tried unplugging nation? And plugging it back in? Conquered people excited for change. Health insurance on trial for crimes against humanity. During our character's space-time the concept of creativity, like everything else, was leveraged as an identifying feature to market the self, or market a thing. It was the same thing. Sua sponte. Were we trying to make our character mad? During our character's space-time, medicines were marketed with the same care as cola and shoes. Consumer technology commercials were selling the product's ability to transform the individual into a productive consumer and entrepreneur, reducing creativity to an empty marketing catchphrase, making creativity synonymous with productivity. Cutting-edge technology severs artery. Revolutionary. Game-changing results. Progress. Not progressing. During our character's space-time there was a strong demand for results. They didn't know what the results should look like. They didn't know how to get results. They just knew they wanted them. And now, Results for the sake of results. Freest nation busy being busy, but not reimagining and implementing new ways to produce a vastly more healthy, helpful, and meaningful society, in a space-time when creative ideas were desperately needed. Creativity was relegated to an empty catch-all term, at best, and at worst to the realm of productive technology, not to improve the lives of each global citizen, to make us better consumers and entrepreneurs, to better compete with China. No acceptable plan of action possible. The private and social aspects of our character's life must reinforce the image of themselves as an entrepreneur, of themselves, and of human capital. Don't we want our character to do well? Are overly limiting rhetorical stances inevitable? Who was the shithead that opened the cereal like this? There is the way the box was meant to be opened, and there is the way our character opened it. The two seem to be at odds most of the time. Our character wanted to be a trillionaire, but the news said trillionaires might be taxed more. So our character was totally disincentivized, and they became lazy. And this is what was wrong with Freest Nation. Need to abolish trust funds. They disincentivize people from entering the workforce. Force work. Extremely normal politician has problem with procedure to remain racist and keep foot on throat of poor. New study shows every study wrong. Studies show that studies show that studies show that studies show that everything is probably good and bad for you. I dunno. Dark chocolate and wine or something. If you feel like you've read this before, you probably have. Give your secrets to the person who will always remember, but forget to tell others. Our character forgot everything. Our character remembered everything. It only existed through them. So whether it was or it wasn't, it was through them. Whether or not anything was possible, they had no control over it. That's what this whole game is for. In appreciation we see the extremes converge into their common nothingness. The truth that might as well be true. Could our character go back to seeing their native language, as they saw it for the first time, as a mess of indistinguishable lines? What prevents our character from reverting back to meaninglessness, irregardlessness, afraid to move outside of logos? Forever? Forever? Forever. But forever. In space-time, everything will be seen as necessary. Maybe our character's dimension was space-time and language math. Other dimensions could be different. Everything that is space-time, language, math. And the unknown. Everything that is unknown. The only way to win is to believe the game isn't over. For a while, our character's president, who was not our character's president, was president. But he was wildly unqualified. He ended up making a terrible president, etc. I think this explains a lot about the space-time our character lived in. You can never leave the cult of self-improvement. I have come to terms with the chaotic collection of tasks and trips in and out of collective consciousness that ask me only to learn how to drown with dignity. Please die quieter. You're going to wake the children. Easier to say our character did something wrong than admit we made it up. Another day spent treating the symptoms, not the problem. During our character's space-time, everyone knew what was wrong with our character. Nobody offered viable solutions. It surprised our character how much everyone thought they knew them, perpetually projected onto, but necessarily, otherwise, they wouldn't be our character. Both wave and particle? How? But not why. All bachelors are unmarried. But the sun will rise tomorrow. Self-explanatory or experienced? Analytic or synthetic? Gasoline. Fill it up? Probability. Probably. Young men no longer willing to fight wars of old men. Will the future conform to the past? Faithful to no assumptions. No stage. For our character. No stasis. How will our character exist without you? Generally a generalist. A nomadic journey becomes necessary. Dynamic motive, a re-examination that sets our character adrift. Solutions elsewhere, a caricature of logos. Who would attack next? And why? A meditation on the limits of logos. The author, the boundaries of truth. Was our character merely an imitation of dynamic motive? Are we? Leave the form open waiting to be realized. But close the door. You're letting all the warm air out. Illuminate the reader's own contributions to the text. Our character vowed to be better prepared when asked, required to put forth their own thoughts. Freest nation diagnoses mental health crisis as laziness. Oh good, the book is writing itself. The news should be boring. The information is disturbing enough. Our character was trying to remember, to not say the first thing that came into their head, or the second thing, or the third thing. In fact, just wait until the conversation moves on without you. Maybe write it down later. Physically fiscal. Physically fit, missing teeth, charts and graphs in Congress, debt, the price of liberty. Older generation apologizes for nothing. Only 10 people can afford to live in freest nation's big city, but millions work there. You're an economist? Name every dollar. Influencer not influential. Monk but not religious. Exile on lame street. Work costs money. Fire and mice. A vice and men. Forced baptism. What good is seeing the future if you can't do anything about it? Flying too close to the sun while crawling on the ground. Always erring on the side of the oppressed. Erring with dignity. Viewer discretion is advised. Spoilers. That's not the definition of retaliation. Dictator not bold, just very stupid. Trauma. Only thing the older generation passes down. What proof is there that fish don't think like us? The good news, if oppressors haven't changed their tactics, neither do we. Our character was feeling down, but then they watched clips of Orange Man, and felt better. At least they weren't them. Tune in at 8, for cool marriage trick, tough love, hints of insincerity. Our character wanted to be defined by their hate for person. Someday, they'll all see, they didn't. Much was concealed from our character. Did we know what they didn't? There was much they concealed from themselves. Did we not know that neither they didn't? Everyone has disadvantages. Everyone has advantages. Does our character need more motivation? Should we provide them with a few tragedies? Maybe that will help them. It didn't. Dictators. Not even trying to hide it anymore. Creativity. A step forward, backward, into ourselves, our character's self, an overarching demanding narrative, expectation lifted, allowing us to see alternative perspectives, to creatively respond, to highly motivated and invested communication, allowing us to create critique in ways that account for our dynamic and multifaceted selves, our character's many selves, lost count at this point. Never attempt to make others believe your interpretation. Start them on a path toward thinking about their relationship to logos. Embrace your muse. Create a beginning, an impetus, narrative of possibility for others. Instead of thinking towards closure, facilitate an opening. In this way, the writer goes beyond what they know, showing how the logos conceals and unconceals itself. The individual can deal with logos outside the confines of the writer's own creation. Should we tell our character? Perchance. Gun owners celebrate victory. This only made sense during our character's space-time. It would take too long to explain. Made in Vietnam. Should we have our character narrowly identify with one of their selves? To market this self for an overly specialized career? Career is being generous. In our character's space-time, indentured internship, false choices bountiful, over-identifying ourselves, our character's selves, the narratives we champion, the heroic stories of inventors. I'm hooked. Were there inventors anymore? In our character's space-time, they seem to have gone missing. Overly romantic notions stagger in a receptive audience. Are you able to carefully listen to a multitude of voices that offer opinions on the project at hand? Re-envisioning the rhetorical stances we take, our character takes, forming opinions, directing our actions, acting our directions, our character's actions, etc. Winemaker's top 10 questions to ask anyone, at any time. Which person in the department is the fully functioning, emotionally developed human, and what steps have you taken to ruin them? Do you reward people for doing a good job, or do people only deserve insults? Our character wanted to be remembered fondly, as that one person, who listened to jazz, and spoke real quiet. Our character thought of this, after watching a movie, cheese wine, for women, meat wine, for men. The devil is in the details, but also never sleeps. There's more than one way to skin a cat, but they have 9 lives. It takes money to make money, but a penny saved is a penny earned. 2 in the penny is 1 in the hedge. I don't know what you can do with this information, historians. Today's lecture is on 2010s 2030s. A continuation of our lecture series on the Dark Ages that lasted from the 5th century to the 22nd century, a period of intellectual and spiritual depravity. Our character's professor continued. However, the years 2019 to 2024 all technically count as a full century each, although no progress was made, as far as we can tell. They attempted to eradicate the virus with murder hornets, divorce, and a female dancer ritual, wearing tight pants, on a Vine knockoff. Unsubscribed from all. Our character's younger self thought they'd be taking off and landing on more aircraft carriers by now, and much more involved with pyramid adventures. Now it was pyramid schemes, which turned out to be everything. Childhood fear of quicksand, disproportionately irrational, any more or less than our character's current fear of nuclear war? Difficult to say. Childhood fear of people. Spot on. There's a lot less James Bond stuff that happens in real life. Our character had never even been in a street race. Meaningful monologues during straight razor shaves also never seemed to happen. Person driving fast. Also playing loud music. Amateur human. Extreme amateur adulting. Gold. But for birds. Challenge your day every self. Our character often forgot they had to keep living, that there was still an outside of them. Skeptic, not genuinely skeptical. Enough. Septic. Skeptic. Suspect. Slosh fest. Our character wasn't very famous. Were they? Maybe they were, and we didn't know. They didn't know. Is that more delusional? Or to be a famous person and not know it? Our character didn't have money though, so they couldn't be famous. Our character was now trying to be sold on multi-platform exposure point development context. They will guarantee return investment on structural policies. Channel your challenges to develop optimum DREAM capacity among team leaders. Find qualified candidates. Responsive investing communities provide growth opportunities for conglomerate collaborations with footholds in dynamic expenditure dividends. Principled growth needs daily attention. Principled growth standards need maximum attention benefits for qualitative results. Invest hard. Micro, soft, macro, hard. Discover, inspire, enjoy. How well do you know your butter? Tonight at 8. The creative strategies we wanted to develop for our character would enable agency in an individual's everyday relations with dominating power dynamics and improve their ability to both articulate and think about their world more creatively. Should we do it?